try to open your minds and relax, relax. Spirit, what is the shadow? Please and thank you. What is the shadow? Interesting. This shadow has actually been coming up in the collective here, and it's the shadow of lack, okay? It's the energy of not having enough. It's the energy of maybe feeling a low self-worth. It can be connected to abandonment wounds, feeling rejected, rejecting self, being rejected, feeling like we're not enough, being kind of left out in the cold. Anything that is lack in your physical world, not having enough, not having your needs met. This is a dominant shadow in the collective right now. There's a pretty strong exercise that we can do with lack, with any shadow. There's all different ways to do shadow work, but one is to kind of open a dialogue with your lack, especially in a journal. So this can be kind of personifying your lack and trying to tune into it. Maybe you want to meditate a little bit first and just connect to that energy. Trying to identify maybe where it comes from, where it's born from in your life, what it wants, why it's there, what message it's trying to deliver. Often when things hang around, even if they're negative, when they persist, they're trying to tell us something, they're trying to show us something. And because of the paradoxical nature of this universe, of this reality, poison can also be the cure and vice versa. So a shadow can just as much serve as it can feel like it's stifling. This is no different with this lack energy. It may feel like it's non-advantageous, that it's a disadvantage, that it is, only there to hurt or suppress, but to the contrary, there's actually something to be learned, gained, and even a way to expand because of the lack. Now, your conversation may look quite different than mine, for example, but I would like to share with you a little bit of how my journal entry went in trying to connect with the energy of lack. And I ended up titling it Healing with the Root of Lack. And first and foremost, I asked, what is lack? And I allowed the answers to come to me from there. And the answers that I received was not having or being enough, lacking our needs being met, basically needs not being met. It wrote, can also be mindset as an overlay from the past lack or neglect when we were helpless or not capable or independent, being projected onto the present out of fear and thus drowning out the reality or ways in which we are presently experiencing abundance simultaneously and actually able and capable to meet many of our own needs. Lack can also be trauma that is putting us back to being like children, where we become dependent on someone or something else to meet our needs rather than rooting in or laying new roots in our own capabilities and capacity to meet our own needs here and in the present. And of course, some dependency still exists within our society and communities, and that's normal and that's healthy, which does bring up a very key word of balance, right? This says, like any relationship, the more we grow and develop time after time, that trust between us, like our inner child, our inner self, and our current self, to be able to meet those needs, the more we can trust in ourselves and lay those roots away from negative dependency patterns and perceived lack and helplessness. This then posed the question of, but what about when you can't meet your own needs? Because then that trauma response is triggered and fear takes over along with lack. So what do we do with that? And one solution that came to mind, again, yours can be different, okay? This is not the right or wrong. It's just me working through a conversation and showing you how it came. Maybe there will be some points that will help you, but there's no right or wrong way to do this. It's just to sit down and do it, to make the space or time. You don't need to reach a conclusion. It's just helping to alchemize, move, understand, and sit with this energy. Sometimes these shadows, they really just need to be seen. They need to feel unconditional presence to be understood, okay? So what to do with that? One thing was maybe find another way to meet your needs and remind yourself that you are resilient and unconditionally present for yourself to find a solution to meeting these needs. That's a big one, because it's not always about being perfect, but knowing that you've got your back, for example. That gives something. The unconditional presence is a need in itself, and it's more of a root need. I also felt that it can help to understand and acknowledge what portion size is up to us to take care of our own, and what portion size that we do need from others, like community, society, loved ones. Again, just understanding our own needs, 616 on the timer, is very powerful, and it is very connected to this lack energy. I also wanted to identify where the root of my perceived lack was, and I allowed the first thing that came to mind. I allowed myself to write it down without judgment. I'm not going to share that here, but as you can imagine, a lot of that is connected to childhood, and then the associations and patterns and programming in response to certain behaviors or needs that we have as a child, I had as a child, and then the response thereafter to those, and how that has suppressed some of those innate needs or made them feel shameful or wrong or not okay to have. And obviously that's a big one for a lot of us. Of course, there's also a lot of associations that come out of that. So if you have a certain behavior, then it's associated to lack. Well, if you engage in that behavior, even in a healthy way, as an adult, there can be sort of a war within, because part of you is like, oh, logically, this is healthy, and I know that now, even though it wasn't made to be back then. But because there's that innate fear and trauma connected to this being a negative behavior, I'm at war, I'm in conflict, and even though I'm kind of half at peace with doing this, the other part that's not at peace is stopping the flow. And stopping the flow is another really important point, because when it comes to subjects of lack and abundance, I like to see it kind of as a faucet that is always running, like the water is always turned on, the water is always available. It's more about the flow, about the on-off, or the how you're restricting or opening and allowing the flow, than it is to have to create some kind of abundance out of nowhere. It's like the abundance is always there, it's always ready to flow, but how much will we allow to flow? So then I sat with, what message is lack trying to tell me? And I actually allowed myself to channel some messages from lack. And lack said that you still don't feel like you're worthy enough of basic things or needs. It said you feel like you have to do good or be good or perfectly be good in order to receive some form of wealth, prosperity, abundance. It said that what you do in life is a direct correlation to how worthy you are of having abundance or your needs met or not. It was telling me that's where my mindset has been. Told me my mindset's that if you do the wrong thing, then you will be punished, the wrong thing, then you will be punished and not have or be enough. And it said, but it is only you judging you now, and the harshest of all. On the subject of money, lack said, plenty of evil people, both poor and rich, have money and don't. Who or what determines their worth? Themselves. Lack also said plenty of people who don't feel worthy still have wealth, abundance, and plenty. Again, it's not about being perfect. Lack said, I am here to show you what you are missing in life and how you can feel that much better when you finally get it. It says, I create contrast in your experience and temper your expansion, which pushes you to grow beyond your own limits. I am not the enemy, but I am a force to be reckoned with. I personified lack and channeled what it had to say, basically. And these are some things that it was speaking. And these may be helpful to you, they may not. If nothing else, hopefully they inspire you to have and open your own dialogue with your shadows, especially the shadow of lack that is here in the collective. And remember, this lack is not limited to any one area of your life. And I felt personally that there was a big correlation to our needs connected to lack, our needs being met or not connected to lack energy. So lack said, if you have plenty always, then you'll never know what it is to not have or be enough, and will never be able to reach those people who are also in a place of lack, who are struggling, and help them, or them you, help each other lift up or find the way up, right? So there's also something about community and connection, and there's always reasons too, because there's other people that are at that frequency as well. Kind of like a big, large soul group. Lack said, money is not tied to self-worth, but the flow of abundance is. Again, imagine it like a stopper on a drain or faucet. This was an interesting quote from my Lack. It said, I was born in your mother's womb. She feared she would not have enough to support you, and all of her choices from there that followed were born out of fear, aka an energy of lack. Lack is a branch of fear. I also had recently gone through a situation that had triggered some traumas for me in my roots, and I felt that that actually invited more lack back in, right? So again, keyword is balance. Too much or not enough, same sides, same coin. It's somehow feeling innately wrong and out of alignment that is very connected here. Honor me, honor lack, see how it serves you and actually creates abundance, growth, and progress, pushes you to new heights, opens abilities, creates a drive, a new need to figure it out, and also note how it connects you to others of the same or similar frequency, and know that it is not meant to be your permanent home. Like all things, lack is temporary. A great practice that came from this session with lack was to ask the self, are you doing this thing or thinking this thought or having this emotion out of a place of lack? And if so, do you want to participate in continuing to grow that fear-based energy in your life? If you could do something out of abundance, plenty more than enough of, or out of basically love, what would it be? What would the motivator be then? To invite more abundance, or to invite that perspective, that perception of abundance, because it's already here. Do more that is from and connected to an abundant place, a place of plenty. I actually want to give you a really important practice that can be very beneficial to you, and you can adapt it your own way, but it's basically the input, output. So immediately what energy we're putting in to our life, we are growing more of. So I want to reiterate this message of asking ourselves as much as possible in our day, being very conscious of what decisions we're making and out of what place are we making them. To ask ourselves, am I doing this thing or thinking this thought or having this experience or emotion out of a place of lack? Okay? And you can break this down and really say, is it out of fear or is it out of love? Yeah? And if it is out of lack, which is an extension of fear, do I want to participate in continuing to grow that fear-based energy in my life? If I could do something in this moment out of the energy of abundance, of plenty, of having more than enough, out of love basically, what would it be? What would the motivator be then? To invite more abundance into the life is to do more that is from and connected to that abundant, loving place, a place of plenty, a place of inspiration, of choice. Now, a really important point to make here is we actually can play with our perspectives and we don't have to change what we're doing. I'll use the same example that I used with a friend yesterday. Let's say you have some sort of a meeting or a get-together to go to and you're trying to pick out what to wear for this get-together. And let's say you have this banana suit hanging in your closet that you just love, that you just so want to wear. It makes you feel amazing when you wear it. But to this particular meeting or event, you feel like you need to dress in a way that blends in with the other people there. This feeling may come from a place of fear, of lack. Fear of sticking out, of being made fun of being recognized in a way that is inappropriate or unprofessional if you show up in what makes your heart really happy, which is that banana suit. So out of fear or lack, you decide to dress in appropriate attire and not feel totally comfortable or okay with how you're presenting that day. Now, the solution here will look different for different people, but the solution is not necessarily going to be in order to make the choice out of abundance and lack, I need to wear the banana suit. In fact, it's about a perspective switch. So in this example, instead of looking at it as, I'm really uncomfortable in this and I'm making this decision out of lack because I'm afraid, we can recognize and acknowledge the other side of that, which is that, yes, I feel better in that banana suit. I feel more myself. However, I feel more safe when I wear an outfit that blends in for this specific event or scenario. And by doing this, I'm actually prioritizing my comfort and my safety and my security and my well-being in this situation, because I don't want to draw attention to myself. Yes, I don't want to feel that I stick out. But at its root, there's a very self-loving decision coming through, because I'm supporting my need to feel safe and secure, to feel all right in this situation in a way that will not hurt me or create some sort of unnecessary anxiety for me. So in this moment, there's already an alchemy happening. Instead of drudging the feet and feeling like this decision was made out of lack, we're now recognizing and acknowledging how this decision is also made out of love for self. Now for others, the solution would be the loving thing, the intuition, is to wear the banana suit, F it, show up in the banana suit, invite more love into life. Again, it will be different for everybody, but this is an example of how you don't necessarily need to change what you're doing all the time just because it's coming out of lack. Like when we have to go to work or we have to get something done that we don't want to, right? And we feel like it's coming out of that lack or that obligation. But if you shift your perspective or your mindset and you just consciously take that moment to see, what's at a deeper root of this, is there actually a deeper root of love? I go to work so that I can eat, so that I can survive, so that I can have things, a roof over my head, and that is actually very self-loving to me. And even though maybe there's a way to improve on that circumstance or increase that self-love, just seeing and acknowledging how there is a root of love and abundance and prosperity, even in that obligated moment, is so helpful for growing more abundance in your life. And that's why the flow is so important too, because it's not that the abundance needs to even be grown, because it's already there. Like you can see in this example that we gave about the outfit, it's like you're perceiving the lack of it, but actually the abundance of it is there too at the same time. It's all about your perception. And the more you feed the perception of abundance, the more you see it and recognize it, the more of it you will see and recognize directly in your life, which equates to feeling like the more of it you are growing in your life. Everything is already here. Everything is always already here. It's about our perspective and our consciousness. So the real practice is actually becoming self-aware enough and conscious enough to even stop, pause, and ask yourself, what am I making this decision from? Why am I doing this thing? And if there's a conflict where you feel like you're doing it out of fear or lack, and it's something that you feel you cannot evade or change, or that you still have to go through with, then really look deep and see how it is out of love, how it is also out of abundance, and find some peace with recognizing that that is there, that is present, and that is strong. Okay, I really hope this helps you guys. I hope that this made sense. If you want anything more on this subject, please let me know, because there's a lot to say about it and we'd love to go more in depth.